Well, how's it going, everyone? Welcome. Elvira Gonzalez. Yeah, in the dark. I know I got a issue that I need to solve, especially when I look at the handyman. But it's more like that I need to, at some point, dedicate time to look up the lights. I can do that, but I prefer to not so far because this also helped me to sleep better, especially when the sun set. So yeah, but in the meantime, in this half an hour, I just want us to look at the SQL, which is part of the course from a software developer that has a lot of experience in the field, Gary Bernhardt, by not only look at the content that he hosts here as part of his course in terms of the SQL, all right, and all the topic in this course apply to any SQL database. So not only MySQL but also Postgres, a database like Redshift, which is part of the Oracle, right? Oracle and SQL Server, right? And also that also include is things like SQLite, for example. So for those who are not familiar what SQLite is, that's a good segue that I can take here. But again, is well, allegedly, according to their website, is a small, fast, reliable database, right? Choose any three. Okay, so the idea of exploring the SQL by reading it directly at the paper, which is something that I'm going to see here. If I go to there and then I particularly at here, right, at the standard 9075-1, okay, describe briefly is the introductions, the scope, the normative reference, and the terms and definition, as well as the concepts here, right? So yeah, so the SQLite, right, is a process, is an in-process library that implements a self-contained, serverless, zero configuration, transactional SQL database engine. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in all of these different terminologies, right? So the code for SQLite is in the public domain. So in other words, you can have access to that. SQLite is public domain. SQLite is in the public domain, so you don't have any copyright. It's open source. It's open source, not open contribution. That's interesting. And all the code in SQLite is original and having been written specifically for use by SQLite. No code has been copied from unknown source of the internet. So yeah, so all code and this documentation in SQLite has been dedicated to the public domain by the author. All co-authors and representatives of the company they work for have signed affidavits dedicated their contribution to the public domain and originals, and those signed affidavits are stored in a file safe at the main office here. Hip Wiggity Wyrick Company, for short, is a small North Carolinian company providing knowledge service to clients around the world since 1922. Hassie is an S corp owned by the husband and wife team of Richard Hippie and Ginger Wickery. In recent years, an important business focus on HWAC has been the SQLite database engine. However, the company continues to provide other music and technology related service. This is interesting. Rip and Wickery here. Dr. Richard Hip. Interesting. Okay. Okay. That's quite interesting. Yep. That's interesting. I didn't expect that. Ginger and Richard, November 2005. Right. So yeah, they are. You know, they are. Are a husband and wife team who owns and operate HWAC Hip Wickery Company. It's a small North Korean-based consulting firm focused in 1992. Hip, a computer science with PhD from Duke University, is the architect and primary author of the widely deployed SQLite database engine and the Fossil version control. Fossil. Interesting. Wickery, a musician and author, served as the company president and chief operating officers, handling administrative and creative operations while also teaching at Queen's University of Charlotte. The couple currently live and work in Charlotte, North Carolina, where they maintain a debt-free small team business model focused on bespoke software solution and technical expertise. But very, very simple, you know. Exactly. I don't have any debt. I don't take any debt. All right. And I run as a small team business model focusing on bespoke software solutions and technical expertise. So not only that, I dedicate time to read and understand the mechanic of these machines or the systems, but also I spoke about that in their solutions. Their collaboration formalized in 1994. I have 4 years old, bro, when Hip restructured his sole proprietorship into an S corporation, transferring all stock to Wickery to ensure the company's stability and independence. Okay. Holy moly. The staff of HWC here. Ginger G. Wickery is the owner, president and chief operating officer at WIC. She holds multiple postgraduate degrees in music, is the author of several books and articles, and it is accomplished as sought-after teacher, lecturer, musician, and choral conductors. Choral conductor, what? For instance, in addition to her responsibility in HWIC, Ginger also is on the music faculty at Queen's University of Charlotte. And she writes for Abingdon Press here. So welcome to Charlotte's University. Where is the Charlotte University? A day in the life of a royal. What the? Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, former Canadian President, the next Learning Society speaker. Where is this? Where do these things live from? Charlotte, Queen's University of Charlotte. The U.S., but what? Charlotte, Canada? Oh, North Carolina or South Carolina. Okay, it's North Carolina, man. Holy moly, bro. That is mind-bending. Okay, North Carolina, man. That is mind-bending stuff. So she teach at the North Carolina University, right? And she writes at Abingdon Press here. Abingdon Press here. Okay. That's okay. This is a very niche stuff here. Okay. And then you have Dr. Richard Hip, is a member of a technical staff at HWACI. He holds a PhD in computer science from Duke University and spent most of his time solving tough technical problems for AWACAI's clients. Richard is also available for training and staff development. So, which is something that a lot of people actually do in this realm, especially in the areas of Unix and Linux programming, the SQLite database engine, and graphical programming using TCL/TK. What in the French stuff is this? TCL Developer Exchange. What? Join the many thousands of software developers who are already more productive with the help of TCL programming language and the TK graphical user interface toolkit. What in the French stuff is this? Where am I, bro? About TCL/TK software. Is there any way that I can at least look at this? Because it's again, first, it's very specific. Does this have any? What the hell is in this nigga? Okay, TCL Developer Exchange, bro. Okay. So it's this. So what is, and I don't want to get lose too much self into this, into the detail. What is the TCL/TK scripting language? Holy moly, TCL. Holy moly, what the French stuff is this? It's a programming language. It's a powerful open source and cross-platform combination of dynamic scripting language and graphical user interface toolkit. Okay. Holy moly. Yeah, it's like what the French stuff is this? Sony is selling its home entertainment business to TCL. But again, what is the easy to embed in? TCL was originally created by Josh in 1988 to easily embedding scripting capabilities into C applications, allowing for live debugging and extension without recompilation. Oh, that's interesting. Key development here, versatility, and things like the thinker here. Okay. So this is a programming, it's a high-level language. General purpose interpreted dynamic programming language, and it was designed with the goal of being very simple but powerful. TLC casts everything into the mold of a command, even programming constructs like variable assignment and procedure definitions. So, but in any case, TCL file being edited with the Eclipse ID. Okay, so Limoli. Web application development. TCL Web Server is a pure TLC implementation of an HTTP protocol server. It runs on a script on top of vanilla TCL interpreter. Apache Rivet is an open source programming system for Apache HTTP server that allows to use TCL as a scripting language for creating dynamic web applications. Rivet is similar to PHP, ASP, and GSP. Rivet was primarily developed by Damon Kerning and all of these people here. Apache Rivet is a powerful, flexible, consistent, fast, and robust solution to creating web applications. creating web applications. Is there any example of this? And again, this go be okay. Okay, so oh my god. It's a common database access interface to TCL script. It's currently supported drivers for accessing MySQL, ODB, Postgres, and SQLite. TCL database connectivity. Okay, makes a ton of sense to use that. So it's a high-level language for creating is user interface with the goal of very powerful here, but it is commonly embedded into C applications for rapid prototyping, scripting application, GUI, and testing. Okay. So anytime that you need to run this scripting stuff here, and it was updated quite frequently, dynamic typing, everything is a string. Holy shit. Okay. And then you have some part of the dialect and influenced by Lisp and influenced by PHP and PowerShell as well. So yeah, that's the question. It's like it's okay. I don't want to get loose into the details with this, but again, this is the authors, you know, the people who actually make this possible here. So yeah, right. That is reaching happy. So that's quite interesting in order to close the gap of this particular database. It doesn't have any so yeah, it doesn't have any so you don't unless you get into the realm, do deep into this, you may find their work. All right. So this is what the SQL is. It's a process, it's an in-process library that implements a self-contained, serverless, zero configuration, transactional SQL database engine. The code of SQL is in the public domain, and SQL is mostly widely deployed database in the world with more applications than we can count, including several high-profile projects here. So Adobe uses SQLite as the application file format for the Photoshop Lighting product. SQL is also the standard of the Adobe integrated ERM. So they are now working is with these clients here. So the Adobe, even for Airbus, confirms that SQLite is being used in the flight software for the A350 XWB family of aircraft. You don't want to mess a thing here. Apple uses SQLite in most of the native applications running on macOS desktop and servers, and on iOS devices such as iPhones and iPods. SQLite is also using iTunes, even on non-Apple hardware. Bentley, holy moly. Bosch is using SQL in multimedia system called Install of VM. Nissan and Suzuki automobiles. Dropbox, Expensify use SQLite as a server-side database engine for the enterprise scale expense reporting software. Facebook is using that. General Electric, oh my God. Google use SQLite in their Android cell phones operating system and in the Chrome web browser. Holy moly with this database, bro. Intuit apparently use SQL in their QuickBook and in TurboTax. Library of the Congress. Library of Congress. The United States Library of Congress recognized SQLite as a recommended storage format for preservation of digital content. McAfee, Microsoft, Firefox, navigation data standards, the popular PHP programming language comes with both SQLite 2 and 3, Python, RPM, Skype, The TCTK programming language now comes with SQLite here, and Sojo comes bundled with just Sojo programming environment. So holy moly, bro! So, oh my God! So this is why I actually do this kind of exploration here, right? Okay. So this is a high-profile project. Browsers like is interesting. Browsers like Google and Mozilla, or browsers like Chrome, they use now this database here as a way to store, well, processes and managing all of these applications that allow you as a user see and interact with this document. So interact visually, or by listening to the document, or by Braille device, yes, that's what it is, and so on and so forth. So holy French toast, my God, guy, bro. And there's still people actually using is now SQLite. Oh my, it's using MySQL and things like that. SQL is an embedded SQL database engine. Unlike, and when you talk about embedded SQL database engines, unlike most other SQL database, SQLite does not have a separate server process. SQLite reads and writes directly to ordinary disk file, which is made convenient to go with. A complete SQL database with multiple tables, index, triggers, and view is contained in a single disk file, which is mind bending. You know, the database files format, as it is cross-platform. You can freely copy a database between 32 bits and 64-bit system, or between big endian or little endian architecture. These features make SQLite a popular choice as an application file format. SQLite as an application file format. SQLite database files are a recommended storage format by the US Library, and think of SQLite not as a replacement for Oracle, but as a replacement for fopen. What in the French toast is this? fopen, Linux programmer manuals. Okay, where am I at? It's a replacer of the fopen. File open. Oh, okay. Functions open the file whose name is the string pointed to by path name and associates a string with it. The argument mode points to a string beginning with one of the following sequence, possibly followed by additional character as described below. Open text file for reading, open for reading and writing, truncate file to 0 length. Okay, it's a replacement for how you can read and write a file. The fopen, Linux man page online here. Holy moly, what the French said? Linux man page. Hurricane Electric. Oh, no, okay. Fucking hell. Hurricane Electric. Global Internet Backbone. Colocation. Free IPv6 certifications. Holy moly. Okay. Anyway. Hurricane Electric Internet Service. Okay, endianness. Okay. Okay, the database file format here. But again, think of this as a replacement, not as the SQLite, right? Not a replacement for Oracle, right? Particularly the database. Yeah, database or Oracle database, right? But as a replacement for file and open here. So reading and writing a file, so operations on file. SQLite is compact library with all features enabled. The library size can be less than 900 kilobytes, depending on the target platform and compiler optimization settings. 64-bit code is larger, and some compilers optimization, such as aggressive function inlining and loop unrolling, can cause the object code to be much larger. There is a trade-off between memory use and speed. SQLite generally runs faster the more memory you give it. Nevertheless, performance is usually quite good even in low memory environments. Because that at the end of the day, think of it, this is a replacement for file operations here. Depending on how it used, SQLite can be faster than direct file system input and output. SQLite is very careful test with that. Most of the SQLite source code is devoted purely to testing and verification. An automated test suite runs millions and millions of test case involving hundreds and millions of individual SQL statements and achieve 100% test branch coverage here. The test coverage for all of this. Okay. SQL responds gratefully to memory allocation failures and this input and output errors. Okay, so if for some reason the process cannot load cannot mount or cannot load or cannot allocate memory for this data or this, it will respond gratefully. Transitions are acid, even if interrupted by system crashes or power failures. All of this is verified by the automated test using a special test harness which simulates system failures. Of course, even with all of this testing, there are still bugs, but unlike some similar projects, especially commercial competitors, SQLite is open and honest about all bugs and provide bug lists and minute-by-minute chronologies of errors. Let's see if you want to get into this. Okay. So you can have access to all of this, all of the ticket here. Okay. fix, close. Active, review, fix, test, defer, close. Holy moly. Interesting. As well as a timeline here. Oh, holy moly, that was, oh my God, that was a couple hours ago, minutes ago. So they actively maintaining that string. Oh my God, that. Holy moly. All right. Holy French toast guy. That's Jesus. Okay. Make file doc tweak, and you can inspect. It's even there. Holy fuck. You can inspect is this, right? You can inspect is this. Holy moly. Oh my French toast got check-ins any type, right? Or even only tags. So it was the last time something was deployed that. or check-ins here. Oh my God, that was a new world for me. So the SQLite code base is supported by an international team here. SQLite is written and maintained by a team of dedicated software professionals located around the world on 3 continents. This page is used to host names and pictures of key developers. However, it turns out there are a lot of crazy people in the world who might misuse that information. So we have taken down from now. If you really need to know exactly who are the developers that bring your SQLite, please contact the lead developer, Richard Hip, via email or DRH at this domain so he can arrange appropriate introductions. And holy moly, that was updated a year ago. This is one of the beautiful things of the internet. So it allows you to expose or consume and read all of this content from people across the world, but also expose you to other dangers around this. The SQLite code base is supported by international teams. The developers continue to expand the capability of SQLite and enhance its reliability and performance while maintaining backward compatibility with the published interface spec. The published interface spec, C language interface specification for SQLite. SQLite syntax. Interesting. SQLite understands most of the standard SQL language, but it does omit some features, while at the same time adding a new features on its own. This document attempts to describe precisely what part of the SQL language SQLite does and does not support. A list of SQLite keywords is also provided. The SQL language syntax is described as syntax diagrams here. And it's just telling you what it's doing here. Okay. If you run, for example, those statements here, aggregate some distinct order by here, or alter the table, and all of the things, you can rename the name of the table or add a column. So you can rename is the table or the column, or you can add a column or set a constraint to that or check that, or you can drop that column or constraint, or alter the column or drop it. Right? Analyze statements, attach statement, begin statement, column constraint. And as you can see, that's very descriptive here, and how the things actually works. Holy French toast. Holy French toast, my friend. Okay. Got it. And while maintaining backward compatibility with the policy interface and SQL syntax and the database file format. The database file format here. This document describes and defines the on this database file format used by all releasing SQLite as it is. So the database files, the complete state of SQLite database is usually contained in a single file on disk called the main database file. During a transaction, SQL stores additional information in a second file called the rollback journey, or if SQLite is a wall mode, a write ahead of log b file. You have hot journals, you have page, you have the database header, and the component of the database header here. Yep. The log by page, the free list, binary tree page, Okay, the art of computer programming, bro. Provide a key data store with unique and ordered keys or page-oriented storage device. For background information on B-trees, see NOC, The Art of Computer Programming, Volume 3, Sorting and Searching. Page 47.1, 47.9. Two variants of B-tree are used in SQLite. Table B-trees use 64 signed-bit integer key and store all data in the leaf. Index B use arbitrary key and store no data at all. So you got all of this, right? Cell payload overflow page, pointer map or that, schema layers, record format, record sort order, representation of SQL tables, representation of without row ID, representation of SQL index, storage of the SQL database schema, and the anatomy of the storage of the SQL database schema, the rollback journal, okay, the write ahead log, and the anatomy of that, checksum algorithm, and that's it. And that's it. And that's it. Holy moly. And that's it. The rollback journey and the write ahead log. When a database is in a while mode, all connections to the database must use the while. And this is the format here. Okay. The source code is absolutely free to anybody who wants it, but professional support is also available. The SQLite project was started on 2005-9, and the future is always hard to predict, but the intent of the developer is to support SQLite through the year 2015. Design decisions are made with the objective in mind. We developers hope that you find SQLite useful, and we entreat you to use it well, to make good and beautiful products that are fast, reliable, and simply to use. So you got now this and the documentation of this. Overview document about SQLite, a high-level overview of the SQLite. Oh, exactly. The programming interfaces, SQL language documentation, the SQLite syntax, at least for this, right? Pragma code core SQL aggregate data, so you can see the index of the SQL language documentation. The extensions, okay, that's interesting. The tools, whether if you use now using the command line shell or remote copy of a live database, database hash, fossil, version control system is distributed version control designed specifically to support SQLite development. Okay. The advocacy, 35% faster than the file system. Technical and design documentations, right? Hints to avoid application vulnerability when using that. Upgrading SQLite backward compatibility, and obsolete documentations, as you can see here. So this is if you want to download it, all right? And common links, features, all right? This is the features. When to use SQLite. It's not directly compatible to client-server SQL database engines such as MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, or SQL Server, since SQLite is trying to solve a different problem. Client-server SQL database engines strive to implement a shared repository on enterprise data. They emphasize scalability, concurrency, centralization, and control. SQLite tries to provide local data storage for individual applications and device, right? So for companies where they need to have a shared repository of enterprise data, where scalability, concurrency, centralization, and control is important, that's when you have no SQL database here. And SQLite tries to provide local data storage for individual application and devices. SQLite emphasizes economy, efficiency, reliability, independence, and simplicity. So this is for applications that you want. This is a storage for individual applications and devices. Situation where SQLite works well. Embedded device and the Internet of Things. Application file format. Website. Works great at database engine for most low to medium traffic website, which is to say most website. The amount of web traffic the SQLite can handle depends on how heavily the website uses its database. Generally speaking, any site that gets fewer than 100K hits daily should work fine with SQLite. The 100K hits day figure is a conservative estimate, not a hard upper bound. SQLite has been demonstrated to work with 10 times that amount of traffic. So, like 1 million requests a day. The SQLite website is this. So you can also see the discussion of the hacker rants. Holy moly. Data analysis. People who understand SQL can employ the SQLite command line shell. This is why I need to dig into the SQL or various third-party SQLite access programs to analyze large data sets. Raw data can be imported from SV files, then the data can be sliced and diced to generate a myriad of summary reports. More complex analysis can be done using simple script written in TCL or Python. For data analysis. So you go with Python or R or other language using readily available adapters. Possible use include websites log analysis, sport analytics analysis, sport statistic analysis, compilation of programmatics, and analysis of experimental results. Many bioinformatics research use SQLite in that way. The same thing can be done with an enterprise client-server database. Of course, the advantage of SQLite is that it's easy to install and use, and the resulting database is a single file that can be written to a USB memory stick or emailed to a college. Exactly. Because it's a file. I don't need... holy shit. The advantage of the SQLite is that it's easy to install and use, and the resulting database is a single file that can be written to a USB memory stick or emailed to a college. Cache for enterprise data, server-side database. System design reports success using SQLite as a data store on server application running in the data center. So in other words, using SQLite as the underlying storage engine for an application-specific database server. Data transfer format, file archive, and data containers. Replacement for ad hoc disk files. Many programs use fopen or fread or fwrite to create and manage files of data in home-grown formats. Internal or temporary database, standing an enterprise database during demos or testing, education and training. Because it is simple to set up and use, install is trivial, just copy the SQLite try or the binary executable to the target machine and run it. SQLite made a good database engine for using teaching SQL. Students can be easily create as many databases as they like and can email database to the instructor for comment or grading. For more advanced students who are interested in studying how real database management system works, I don't know what the RDB means for. I think it's this database management systems. The modular and well-common and documented SQLite code can serve as a good basis. Situation where a client-server RDB might work better. Client and server applications. If there are many client programs sending SQL to the same database over a network, then use a client-server database engine instead of a SQLite. SQLite will work over a network file system, but because of the latency associated with most network file systems, performance will not be great. Also, file logging is buggy in many network file system implementation. High volume websites, very large data sets, and SQLite database is limited in size to this, to 281 terabytes. And even if it could handle larger database, SQLite stores the entire database in a single disk file. And many file systems limit the maximum size of files to something, or high concurrency. SQLite support an unlimited number of simultaneous readers, but it will only allow one writer at a time at any instant in time. For many situations, this is not a problem. Writers queue up. Each application does in the database works quickly and move on, and not log lasts for more than a few dozen milliseconds. But there are some applications that require more concurrency, and those applications might need to seek the different solution. Checklist for choosing the right database engine. If the data is separated from the application by a network, Is the data separate from the application by a network? Choose client server. Relational database engine act as a bandwidth, reducing data filters. So it is best to keep the database engine and the data at the same physical device. The database engine and the data on the same physical device, so that high bandwidth engines to disk links do not have to traverse the network. Only lower bandwidth applications to engine link. Okay. Relational database engines act as a bandwidth, reducing data filters, but SQLite is built into the application. So if the data is on a separate device from the applications, it is required that the higher bandwidth engine disk will be cross-across linked. Many concurrent writers, big data for device local storage with low writer concurrency and less than a terabyte of content, SQLite is almost always a better solution. SQLite is fast and reliable, and it requires no configuration or maintenance. It keeps things simple. SQLite just works. Okay. Okay, so that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye-bye.